Alright, so how's the audio? Okay, is that bugger on, or? That's on, I think, isn't it? Yeah, it should be. Alright, so how's the audio? Okay, that is on. Whew, bit of a worry there, thought we were going back to the old ways, so... No. Boomp, game... IRL, boom. IRL, excellent. Right, lovely. Probably should have tried the other one there, but that's okay, we'll be right. Okay, so let's leave that there. Let's just test that this is working now. All right. Great. Is it following the mozzies or? Okay, excellent. That can stay there. Get out of it, you bugger. All right, lovely. There we go, famo. All right, I can get a bait out now. Beauty. Oh dear. All right, we've got our rig. We've got that. Let's do it. Oh, hey, I need to remember this. Hey, that's better. All right, and stop. Good. Right. Alrighty, so let's change that. Great. Okay. Ooh. Now we don't need to go too far. Beautiful. It's a bit glucky, but anyway, that's how it goes. It's already pitted the stainless steel. What a surprise. Oh, excellent. Let's leave that there. We'll muck around with a little bit of soft plastics and see how we go. Lovely. Let that sit. Beauty. Hey, Big Daddy is 6. How are you, mate? Grimothy, welcome to the stream. What's going on, everyone? Hey, Big Daddy, we've got the new motion detection technology. Check this out, bud. Look at that. Hey, isn't that awesome? Took a lot of getting used to, though, man. Just excuse me for a second. I've just got to get another cable and just charge up the gimbal. Otherwise, it's going to... Yeah, mate. Look, we've been investing all of our time and effort back into the stream and technology. So it's not just the motion tracking that's important, but you've got to there's so much other to it as well. And I don't know whether you can notice the difference in the clarity on the screen, but you know, so how much clearer everything is, because it's the best way to describe it. It was just glorified webcam technology. Now we have camera grade video. So with the new audio, the new software that we're using for the video and that sort of stuff, and also for the and now that we've got the motion detection, right? The other thing is too, it's that good, is if I catch a fish, right, and I'm down here with the fish, it'll actually follow while I'm sort of dealing with the fish, right, as you can see, and then as I come up, it'll follow again, right? So Anosmia, how are you, bud? Yeah, good old Bob Ross, what a legend. I didn't know he was a drill sergeant. Burnt tofu. Now, you're vegan or anti-vegan with that username? Welcome, bud. So I'm just going to do... Yeah, so the motion tracking's only a part of it, bud. There's so much more to it. So, you know, I'm just glad we've got good audio and all the rest of the stuff, you know. I don't know whether we're going to get any fish today, but anyway, we're going to try, because that's all we can do. We can try, you know. Oh dear. No, actually, this is a 2 metre long cord. I don't need that. The other thing is too, when we end up on the kayak out in the ocean, now the weights come off and all the rest of the stuff, man, you know, we'll be able to... 1 metre. Hey ho, there we go. That's exactly what I'm after. 2 metres good, it's just too messy. Yeah, the other thing is too, one thing I learnt as well is it's not so much the gear, it's how you connect it all as well. So, you know, and the same old story, mate. Now that we've done it, everyone else will start copying it. So, oh, yeah, well, that was. And, you know, same old story, though. That's how this industry works, you know. Yeah, Mercedes, how are you, bud? Mate, if you want a shout out, just pop in and ask. Oh, thanks, mate. Right, I'm just going to leave that there. Hang on a second. Now, as everyone's well aware, we had a terrible, terrible summer this year, right? And with the heat, everything shut down in the rivers. Don't do that. Don't do that. Hang on. Great. Just let me check that that's charging. Yep, that's charging. That's going good. Right. Boom. There we go. All right, people. Oh, your 12-year-old, mate, they know more about a lot of things in life than we do at our age, bud, just purely because of the internet, you know. So we got a nice loose line there. Yeah, so what we're doing today is we're fishing a river for black bream. I've got a very simple rig here with a pilchard tail on it. I do find that the larger bream like eating pilchards, and with the smaller bream you'll catch them on prawns and all the rest of the stuff. Excuse me. The other thing is too, if you're using pilchard, you often have the chance of catching a larger fish species, okay? So as well as that, we're just going to pass the time with some soft plastics. all the merch store is coming along really well. We're on track for July 1st. And, you know, it's good. And this is the thing, people. When you just put everything back into the stream equipment, you're just developing the content so the people that are watching have a better experience, which is what we're about, you know. We're content creators and that sort of stuff. So, and now that it's hands-free, but this is going to come into its own when we're on the kayak and we're fly fishing out in the ocean. So that's going to work pretty well for us, you know. And we'll do our soft plastics and lures and, you know, octopus jigs and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, all good. Now, if you can just please excuse me for a second, I'm just going to go into Discord and let everyone know that we're live. Just give me a second. So, announcements. Copy link. Great. Great. Now, if you just excuse me again, I've got one more. Hey, there we are. Oh, the mozzies are bad. Rightio, all good. All right, lovely. There we go. Okay. So now it's just a question of, you know, doing what we do. The only thing is I've got to keep remembering that I can't move too quick with the motion detection. Otherwise, it just freaks out and poof, it hits the ceiling, you know. So, and the other thing is as well, I've got to actually be careful of hand signals. So if I do that, good, then that, lovely. All right, we're back. Oh, I think we've got to have a very bad bream session again this year. Just purely because of the weather that we've had, but that's all right. You know, GG, how are you, bud? Yeah, we're fishing a river, bud. This is not a very deep river. Last year, the water was about another 15 feet up further at this time of year, so that just shows how little we're sort of lacking our water supply at the moment. And look, with all the seasons and everything, I mean, the seasons are changing, right? The main reason I fish this spot is there's a little creek that comes in here, and a lot of fish will just hug the bank when they come through, meandering through all the branches and structure and that sort of stuff. Okay, now I've just seen a little bit of a movement in the water there that looked like the dorsal fin of a fish. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position the bait and reposition it. Hey there, puppy, how are you, bud? So just give me a second. Right. Now, that's good. That's the way. Now with your baiting techniques for bream, I always like to use the tail of the fish, right? Hey Freitas, how are you, bud? Welcome to the stream, mate. Everyone's welcome from Pugs' Kennel. So see how we have the top of the fish there is darker and the bottom's lighter? Most fish are like that, okay? You got to remember, see in the middle there where you've got the backbone. If you're going to be casting long distances, you need to be able to ensure that the bait stays on. So what you do is, right, you put your hook in underneath the backbone of the fish, and then you put in over the backbone of the fish. So what will happen is when you're casting the hook, the bait will flex, and then the backbone will keep the bait on the hook, okay? So, yeah, this is our new motion technology, Fredus, okay? Caius, how are you, bud? Oh, you're from Florida, the fishing capital of the world, bud. You are so lucky to be in Florida, mate. Congratulations, bud. Thank your parents for that one if you were born there. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position this on the end of the canopy line there. A lot of people, not much chaos, just trying to catch a fish, mate, you know, like everyone else that fishes. Although when you do it live, it's a bit harder. And a lot of people make the mistake when they fish for bream, right? They, hey, was that a bite? Oh, you idiot. Anyway, a lot of people make the mistake when they fish for bream that they'll try and fish way out in the middle of the river. Don't do that. Most of your fish usually are within the canopy line of the river. So see this tree here, right? What I would do is I would just put a bait straight in there, right? Straight in there, boom. And then if there's a fish around, it'll find it, okay? And then from there, if I was using lures, my first cast would be about 1 foot from the shore, then 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet. Then I'd change my position to be able to fish at a different angle. So you've got to keep your options open. And one of the oldest things I got told with fishing, right, fish are where you find them. Very simple, right? And you will very rarely find a lot of the river species here in WA out in the middle of the waterway. You'll find your bull sharks and your mulloway for some reason. But with your bream, and it's the same with all fishing, people. Hey, Barracuda, how are you, bud? Welcome to the stream. There's 2 things you need to find fish. Structure, well, one really, structure and shade. Because where you've got structure and you've got water flowing past it, you have little ebbs and flows and all the rest of it. So with experience, you can sort of pick where fish would be hanging out, okay? And if you look at freshwater fishing, in freshwater fishing, the biggest, strongest fish in a waterway have always got the best positions where they've got the first access to food and they're able to hold their position in the current without using too much energy, okay? And then that way you can sort of learn where to cast for your bigger fish. And then through the process of natural succession, when you remove the larger fish, the mid-sized fish move up into the larger fish positions, and then they become the larger fish. The smaller fish move up and the cycle continues, you know? Right. Hey, Interstate Travel Crew, how are you, bud? Oh, on the banks, nice one, mate. People, let's go /shout out. Interstate all right, people, can you please go and give Interstate Travel Crew a follow? They rated us last time and I didn't get a chance to do the shout out. Good to see you in here. Yeah, good, mate. I finally managed to make a bit of time in between work. And Snowy, how are you, bud? Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm always good. You know, if you're upright and your ass points to the ground, you're having a good day. The other thing is too, people, when you're fishing for bream here in WA, always resist the temptation and the urge to move the fishing rod and the line around, okay? Now, what I'll do is when I lose the first bait, I'll bring the rig in. This is a really quite basic rig, okay? Right? And with this basic rig, Excuse me for a second. Leave that. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll bring the rig and I'll show you. One of the oldest rigs that I've seen. Oh, nice one, Yellow Snow. Well done, bud. Whereabouts are you fishing out of, mate? Are you in England or Scotland? Because if you can catch grayling and trout in the same area, you're usually in Northern Europe or Canada, aren't you? Alaska, mate. Half your luck, bud. One of the most basic rigs and the first rig that I ever got shown, right? Hey, Dave, how are you, bud? Yeah, it is, mate. It just improves the overall viewing experience of the viewer, Dave, which is what we're about, mate. We're content creators, people, right? We just focus on creating content. That's it. Okay? So that's what we want to do. We want to create content. And then just it sorts itself out, you know? Right? So one of the first rigs I ever got shown to fish in a river was where they had a sinker sliding down straight to a hook and a bait. Let me use this analogy. If someone's glued a piece of string to your chin and they're sliding a pizza down there to you to eat, it's like, yay. But if they put a bowling ball on the same piece of string, right, and slide that down behind the pizza, so as soon as you take a bite, the bowling ball hits you in the face, you're not going to eat for a while, are you? Right? It's the ultimate in fishing, Snowy. So, you've always got to leave a distance between your hook and your sinker with a swivel. With me, I fish quite long leaders, right? And with the long leaders, what I do, okay, is the stay record's 52 centimetres. Now, when you use braid, right, braid has good properties and bad properties. The worst property with braid is it has practically zero abrasion resistance, because most of the braid that you buy is 8 wrap or 4 wrap, right? I've managed to source some 16 wrap braid and 20 wrap braid from overseas. It's I'm waiting to hear back from Japan about it, right? And I'm also waiting to hear back from a couple of suppliers in the States if they'll like wholesale and that. And 16 strand braid and 20 strand braid has the properties, more properties like monofilament, okay? So think of it this way. If you tie braid straight to a hook and you've got a sinker sliding up and down your line, with the fish here being river fish, the first thing they do is head for structure. So when it turns, the fish will rub its body against the braid, and with the sharp fins, it'll just nick the braid. Now, we were fighting a mulloway in the Collie River last year for about 20 minutes, right? And I managed to turn it, and then it came back up towards me, and then it didn't turn away, right? It turned into me and I went, oh no, and I could just literally feel it sliding across the fish's back, right? Now with that, I was using monofilament and I only used 40 centimetres. So if you've got a really big fish and if it's at an angle, you'll still brush, you know, the end of the leader and the braid against the fish and you'll lose it. So I use about a 50 centimetre or 20 inch leader. And with that, what that does is when you hook a fish and it turns, you've got monofilament running along the fish, right? Much better abrasion resistance than braid. If they wrap you around a stick and that sort of stuff, you're still going to get done though, aren't you? You know? So, yeah, it's just one of those things, but each to their own. And when we do our live streams, people, all views are my own, right? And I just base my views on experience. So I've been fishing for over 50 years now, and you'd like to think you sort of have a bit of a clue, but then again, you can't have everything. Sindel, how are you, mate? Citizen Unknown, winter, that's the weather. Yeah, it is, bud. These, if you go to Google and type in Western Australian black brim, right, that'll bring it up for you, bud. Oh, it's a little bit cold too. Right, now, let's see if there's a fish under here, shall we? All right, that's following. This is so good with the motion detection. That's my first cast. Line's still moving, so it's sinking. It's stopped, so it's fairly deep under there. What I'm going to do is just bring that back and just work that into the bank. Now you got to remember, most of your fish will hit you at your feet as well, right? So be prepared. Now, this is just a little pendulum cast, right? So in this situation, because of all the overhanging trees, trying to do an overhand cast is not going to do you any favours, right? And what I might do is just put that on the hat, seeing as we haven't got any rain at the moment. Okay, so then what we do is this, right? If I'm casting with an underhand motion on this cast, I won't get snagged on the tree. See, look, boom, lovely. So it's back in there, right? That was a snag, not a fish, because if it was a fish, it would have tried to rip the rod out of my hand, right? Now what I've done here, people, is I've only really got 2 casts in here with the distance between these 2 reeds here. So if I take a step now and move over, right, I don't know whether you can see this over the shoulder, but see what I've done here is I've opened up everything for myself, right? Now some idiots put a stick in the river there, which means they usually have nets on there, which they're not allowed to do, but we'll check that out later. So I'm going to do another little underhand cast. I don't know whether you can see this, right, but we have the tree that's leant over. You've got that stick that's or the branch there. So I'm guessing that the old branch that was there has been snapped, right, and we've got a gap on there, which is a perfect place for a fish to sit, just in that shadow there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right, nice and simple, let it sink to the bottom. Always keeping one eye on your bait, if you know what I mean. In these low visibility situations, use white soft plastics and lures, people. You'll find them, you know. Yeah, thanks, Snowy. Right, now what we'll do is here, okay, what I want to do is, half the time with your fish, when you're fishing with lures, you've got to literally put the lure right around their area or literally in front of their nose. I'm going to show you some advanced fishing techniques in the next few weeks. We're going to head down south to a lot of the rivers that I fished when I was younger, right? And what that's going to do is I'm going to show you how to fish for quite large trout. In some spots you can sight fish to trout, and what you do is you send your rod tip out over the middle of the river. Righto, we've got a bit of movement in the line, people. I don't know whether it's wind or a fish, but we'll find out in a second, right? And then what you do is, oh, that's a bite. Come on. Something just picked that up and had a look and dropped it again. Okay, it might have been. The biggest problem with this river is you know that it's not healthy, right? Because you don't catch many small fish. Okay, whereas a lot of rivers that are healthy, you catch a lot of fish and the odd big one, you know. Here you don't get that many fish, but when you do, they're usually a decent size. Right, so what I did is I cast right onto the reflection of the branch there. I want to go past it now, and I want to try and get it into the like zone there, okay? So there we go. There we are. Beautiful. So it just clipped the trunk on the way through. Lovely. Now, redfin perch do this down south in the rivers. You'll chuck it out and you'll leave it on the bottom, nothing. You can have a drink and a sandwich, make yourself a coffee. The moment you start retrieving it, they go in and hit it, because they will only hit a moving bait or a live bait, according to the folklore. Right. And for those of you that wonder, sound can't travel into water from air, but if you're standing in the water and you're shooting your mouth off, you'll just be like a giant speaker, okay? Now, I don't know whether you can see here, I do what's called point and shoot casting. So I'll point at a target, and usually 99 times out of 100 I'll hit it. So that's my spot there. I just want to get as close to the other one as possible. There we are, beautiful. Now see how I've got it in right underneath that tree? Yep, and I've hit the snag. Now that's a rookie mistake on my part, but that's all right. If you don't get snagged, people, you're not fishing deep enough. That's simple. Come on. Can I have my lure back? I doubt it. Right. I keep forgetting about this now. Boom. Rightio, excellent. So, you've got to get as close as you can to the snags, people. Okay? That's where the fish are. Now, this will give you an idea of one of the advantages of braid. See how that snapped on the join to the monofilament? That's exactly what you want it to do. Right? You want your braid to stay intact, and you want the monofilament to fail. Okay? Right, and that gets you in a lot of trouble, all right? And the good thing is too, with the new technology that we have, right, it's able to zoom in and out even though the reception's terrible as per normal. Anyway, I'll be back in a second. Right, where's me monofilament? Monofilament. What you do? Alright, we got some 16 pound there and some 16 pound there. We got some of them there. Now what do we got here? We got any 3-inch tails? Let's have a look. They're all the 4-inch. Ah, here we go. These are just what I'm after. Do 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 do. All right, just excuse me for a second, people. I've just got to duck into here for a second. Just stay there. Probably don't really need 2 of these. I'm just going to turn the volume off for a second. Oh. JZ, with the water, it is a little bit muddy, but not as bad as it looks. Okay, so what we've got here is this year we had, I think it was 120 days without rain, and then out of nowhere we got 100 mil. So what it did is it put a lot of silt into the water. This is actually not too bad here. I can see to the bottom, right? So this is clearing up. Last week it was like soup. You know what I mean? So that's what that comes down to with that, mate. It's just your normal winter pattern. Hey, Silius, how are you, bud? No, not using Starlink, mate. Where I am, I'm just using mobile reception, pal. So, yeah, let me just check the audio. Winter pattern. Oh, this audio is great. Fantastic. All right, people. So, what I'll do, let me show you how to do a little loop knot with your fishing, okay? About, what was it? I was still in school. 85 when I first started the trout fishing on my own. I started using loop knots and my catch rate went up by about 40% straight away, right? No ifs, no buts, boom, there it is. So with loop knots, what it does is it allows your lure, or in this case, jig head, to have a totally free action in the water, much like a natural. A lot of people will clamp down their knots, you know, onto their jig heads and their lures and all that sort of stuff. And what that does, it virtually turns what you're using into a plank, okay? So if you use a loop knot, what that does, okay, so if you use a loop knot, what that does is it allows you to free up what you're using. And that's important because you can't see what's happening with water flow and that sort of stuff. So for example, if you're casting into rapids, not like a situation like this where it's quite still, what'll happen is when you're bringing it down and dropping it, if you've got a flow of water that's under the surface that you can't see, right, with a loop knot on, with your loop knot on your jig head and that sort of stuff, what it'll do is it'll dip like a natural in there. So the fish will go, oh, that's real, boom, and they'll hit it. But if you've got it clamped down and you've got like a flow underwater and you bring your lure through it and it just looks like a board, it sort of limits your chances, if you know what I mean. Right, so loop knots are really good. They're not that hard to do. I haven't had any fail on me, right? But, you know, it's the same old story. Your most important thing is your joins to your fish, people, which is your knots. Okay, so spend a bit of extra time on your knots, okay, and get them right, because when you do finally hook into that fish of a lifetime that gives you bragging rights, okay, you want to make sure that eases, how are you, bud? You want to make sure that everything's good, if you know what I mean, okay? Now what I've got here is I've got some 16-pound fluorocarbon, right? I'm not going to use my teeth. So, yeah, and the other thing is too, people, what we do is we don't turn on the camera and think of new ways to get views. All I do is I go fishing and turn the camera on, right? Whatever happens, happens. We're not afraid to fail on this stream. I've done it 1,000 times before. I'll do it 1,000 times again. Right. Not even so much that, Snowy, because with your fishing, if you're not getting snagged like I did and you're not losing gear, you're not fishing deep enough, mate. Especially when you fish a hot climate like we have here in WA. So in freshwater, even through the summer months, not so much the winter months because the water's a bit cooler, but it shuts everything down. So your fish are usually that far from the bottom, bud. You're always fishing the bottom, doesn't matter what you do, you know. All right, so a loop knot. Let me show you the loop knot, okay? This is really easy. So what you do is you just tie yourself a little granny knot here with a little loop like that, right? So that's your granny knot. Get it fairly small. Don't make the mistake of leaving your tag end too short because it'll affect your ability to tie the knot. Then what you do is you put your jig head through there, right? Bring that up, get the little granny knot as close to the jig head as possible. Now once you've put that through, okay, you can make it a little bit smaller. Then all you do is your simple improved clinch knot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, put that back through the loop that I've just hang on. Put that back through the loop or the granny knot that you just made. Beautiful. Right, bring that through. Now, what I always do is I form the loop knot. Now, see how that's come out perpendicular and we form the knot. People make the mistake of pulling the tag end towards the lure or the jig head. Don't do that. You want it to lock in. Right, so pull it away from what you're using to catch a fish. Okay? Mersky, how are you? Dry flies is a bit different. Mersky, to do a loop knot with dry flies, mate, you've got to sort of... Most of your dry flies are anywhere from, what, 12 to 22. And I mean, with the chironomids and that sort of stuff, mate, if you're using a size 26 chironomid, the fly will be smaller than the loop, than the knot that you've got, you know? You know, and I mean, that's just how that goes. I don't fish too many dry flies. The only time I fish a dry fly here is when I'm using it as a strike indicator for a nymph in fast flowing water or a wet fly like the woolly bugger and that sort of stuff in freshwater. So in terms of fishing dry flies though, I know the ultimate in fly fishing is catching, you know, a double-handed brown trout on dry fly, but with the heat that we have here, our options are pretty limited, if you know what I mean. So you've just got to do what's right for you and the conditions. Now see that there? That's a beautiful little loop knot. Now see the important thing here. See where the point on the hook is? See how my loop doesn't reach that, because what happens is if you tie too big a loop knot, right, that's literally within millimeters, right? If you tie too big a loop knot like this, what it'll do, right, so that's right on the cusp within 1 or 2 mil, great. But if that loop knot was here, a lot of times when you go to cast it, and usually with your bigger fish you've got one shot at them, right, you'll tangle what you're using in the loop knot, and the last thing you want is for your point, yeah, that's literally millimeter perfect, you know. Your last thing you want is for your point to get stuck in the lure or the trebles and all that sort of stuff, you know. Now, I want to leave about 20 inches of line here, right, there we go. Now, a lot of people use the uni knot. I don't like the uni knot because the tag end comes out the back. I like the improved clinch knot because the tag is actually resting up against the swivel, and the harder you pull on the knot, the more it clamps down on the knot so it doesn't fail, you know. I've had lots of uni knots fail on me, especially with sharks when I was younger, because they have rough skin and then they brush the knot and it just unravels. So improved clinch knot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put that back through the little teardrop loop, reach through, grab it, bring that through like that. Okay, I'm not trying to catch anything with the lure, so it doesn't matter if it clamps down on the lure, right? And then what we do is this. Oh, I can't even cut that, hang on. Right, so what we have now is we have a beautifully formed knot on the swivel. We have a lovely loop knot there on the jig head, right? And see how that's moving freely with the loop knot on that? See how you can like flick it around and all that sort of stuff? That's the analogy that you use in the water. God, this new software is clear, isn't it? Right. So now what I'm going to do is, these are 3-inch soft plastics. With the 3-inch soft plastics, and when you're rigging soft plastics is a game of millimeters, right? 1 millimeter either side of the center point can affect the action of your soft plastic. So with some soft plastics, right, if you have a look down here, see where we've got the slit down the middle of the soft plastic and also the slit underneath it? Now, you can put scent into that, you can do what you like. You can actually position your soft plastic with the hook. So, if my hook comes out to this side of the soft plastic, I can actually fish that on an arc. So if I've got a snag and I want the soft plastic to head into the snag and come out much like a natural, I can do that with the position of my jig head. If I want it to go into the snag, you know, sometimes you bring it around the corner, it just gives it a slight variation in angle and it makes it look like a little bit more of an injured fish, okay? Yeah, and that's good, mate. Nymphs are a really good way to fish, mate, you know. Now, you don't make the mistake of fishing nymphs in slow-moving water, do you? Because a lot of people will retrieve nymphs like streamers. You don't do that. You put them under a strike indicator, and then what you do is you cast it upstream and let it come downstream, and when the strike indicator disappears, you know that you've got a fish on, you know. All right, so what I've got to do is here, okay, don't be afraid to use the gauge of the hook to line up your soft plastic, right? So what we do is, when you're rigging your soft plastics, just take a second, okay? Just take a second, have a rough idea where you want the hook to come out. All right, so what I'm aiming for is I'm aiming for the point of the hook to come out at the back of that slot there. All right, so we come in here like this, bring that down underneath. Now see how I've brought that out right in the middle of that groove in the middle of the soft plastic, okay? Okay, great. Then what you do is you bring that down, turn it around, right? Where does that finish? You always go in at the back, like that. Okay, so what we've done is we've actually rigged that correctly, but what's happened is, see how I've got the gap on the hook? So what I'll do now is, that's like the range finder, so to speak. That's actually at the back of the hook where we wanted it. Ta-da! And that's exactly where we wanted it. Now, I think I forgot my super glue. So what's going to have to happen is, I'm going to have to check. But, now see how that's freed that up, and that's a beautiful angle? Because you've got to remember, with your soft plastics, people, they usually end up vertical in the water, right? And you just want to free everything up so that it can move freely and look as natural as possible in the water, okay? Let me just chuck this up here. The good thing about lures and that sort of stuff is too, you know, you don't have smelly bait and all that sort of stuff. And then all you do is you can go out there, leave your bait out by all means, you know? Leave it to do its thing. If there's a fish there, you know, 9 times out of 10, it'll probably find the bait before it finds the soft plastic. But some days, you'll catch more fish on soft plastics than you will on baits, believe it or not. So, you know, especially like when the waterways clear up and that sort of stuff. The other thing is too, you know, when you catch fish on lures, you've deceived a wild animal into thinking what you're using is live. So you've sort of upped your abilities, if you know what I mean. So just give me a second. I'm just going to go and see if I remembered to put the super glue in the little tackle box, but you know, that's neither here nor there. I do have a very high propensity to fail on this stream. I'm so good at it. Oh, there you go, that's the way, Jim. Just luckily that's not on the stream, slamming your head with the box. No, of course not. Did I put it back in here? No, it's probably still sitting. Oh no, we did the fly tying with it, didn't we? Oops, rookie. Oh no, here we are. Beautiful. Not so rookie. Feels a bit light though. Might get one out of it. Okay. With your soft plastics, right? Super glue is your friend. I only use Loctite super glue gel. If you want quality, buy American. Quite simple, right? Now, hey, so what I've got, see that little drop there? All I'm going to do is, I'm going to put my line away from that, right? Gel's really good. Gel doesn't have the odor that your liquid super glue has, right? So it doesn't stink, basically. Yeah, mate, all the time, Snowy. Look, mate, most of it's freshwater, bud, but I've been fly fishing saltwater for years. Now, I've just given that super glue time to sort of dry out a bit. Now what I'm going to do is just push the soft plastic onto there. Right, now what this is going to do is this going to attach this to the head of the jig head. Right, and then what that means is we have a perfect presentation, okay, on the soft plastic. See that? And the hook is exactly where we marked it at the back of that slot there. Right, in the colder weather it takes longer for your soft plastic to set, so I'm just going to wait a second. Right, the clarity on this, the thing is, prior to getting this software, okay, when we did stuff, it would take ages to zoom in and out, and sometimes it would stay out of focus. But since we've got the new software, it's just come up trumps, you know what I mean? Right, so there we are. Ta-da! And what we can do now is that works really well in the water, people. Oh, that works really well in the water. Where this is going to come into its own, right? is when we start doing content and I start showing you lures and baits and fish in the water, okay? But that's a little ways off yet. Lovely. There's something looking at the bait, okay? So with big brim, I've seen big brim in clear water swim up to a bait and just like that and look at it. 15 minutes go by, nothing. 20 minutes go by, nothing. Hey there, Penny Basher. Thanks, bud. This is the new motion tracking technology, Penny. And what we've done is with our new software, with the lenses and that sort of stuff in the camera that we're using, right, it's just, yeah, good. And the audio is important too. So that's why we've done it. Now, so the big brim will sit there. 15 minutes go by, nothing. 20 minutes, nothing. 25 minutes, nothing. 30 minutes, nothing. Bait hasn't moved, right? 37 and a half minutes later, whoompa, they'll just smash it. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, you've just got to leave it in there. That's why I always say, you know, resist the temptation of always mucking around with your baits and that sort of stuff. And especially with live baits, like if you've got a live bait that dies on your hook, it ends up turning into a dead bait, doesn't it? So, you know, you don't just throw it away because it's not live anymore. Fillet it, put the carcass out to bring in fish, you know. No, but that's what you do, mate. Oh, it depends, mate. A lot of the old soft plastics started out that way. Then they invented these like hooks and that sort of stuff. And what that does is, right, what happens is with that is when the fish bites, look, boom, it exposes the hook. And then that way you can still save the soft plastic, you know. Hey there, Lizard, what's going on, bud? Oh, thanks, Penny. And look, mate, the motion tracking is a very small part of what we've got going on here, Penny. Right? There's so much more to it than that. I mean, you know, anybody can Google the motion tracking and finding it. It's everything else around it. So this is going to come into its own when we end up on the kayak out in the ocean, mate. Okay? Hey, Baptism by Fire. How are you, bud? Hope you're having a good day. Oh, it was. Look, Penny, this is it, mate, right? So I can do this, okay, like that, all right? So I've got to go boom. Right, I can do this now and show you the, like, soft plastic there, right? See, look, and you can get right in on it. Okay, and then as soon as I go out, boom, it focuses, doesn't it? That's what it's about, Penny. All we ever try and do, mate, is focus on content, and we want to provide the most enjoyable viewing experience of whoever's watching the stream, mate. Okay, that's all that it's about, bud. All right. And look, with live streaming, people, I don't care if I don't catch fish. I have no idea what's going on here. I don't worry about things I can't sort of control, right? All I do is come out here, cast a bait out, leave that out there, wait for a fish to come along. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, well, we'll get one next time. But on Thursday, I want to do some winter brim fishing. Oh, yeah, that's what happens, Penny. You know, the other thing is too, mate, I mean, look, man, I'm a 54-year-old adult male, right? So I'm responsible for my own expenses, all right? So, you know, all this is a tax deduction, Penny, right? It's a tax deduction, mate. So I'm not going to double dip on anything, right? And, yeah, there's a lot here, okay? But, Baptism by Fire, thanks, mate. But, oh, no, I didn't say it for that, Baptism by Fire. Thank you very much. People, to everyone that received a gift had a chat the other day, and, you know, once you sort that out, get that sorted out first, all right, bud? But secret squirrel on that, okay? So, yeah, I mean, with this, I claim all of this on tax, Penny. So, you know, it's just a natural progression, mate. Now, further to that, in the spring of this year, we've got something else happening, right? So, stick around for that. If what I've got planned comes off in September, it's going to be good, people, okay? Just stick around for that, okay? Now, on Thursday, what we're going to do is we are going to go and do some brim fishing, okay? So, see this water level here and this watercolour here, right? This is about, I would say, 6 weeks late because we've had a very dry season leading up to this. So, the way it works with the river cycles, everyone, right? With your river cycles, you have your summer weather, the hot weather will push through the evaporation of the fresh water on top. It recedes and salt water makes its way up the tidal rivers, right? In the winter, when you've got all the rain in the high country, right, the fresh water fills up the top and it pushes the salt water back. What you've got to do is you've got to find on that seam where the fish are. So, what we want to do is we're going to take the kayak out with this technology because that's the next step, right? The first step is getting it right, which we've done, right? We're stationary. The next one is we're going to take this out in the kayak. We're going to be doing lure fishing and fly fishing for winter black brim in a river down south, okay? And well, hopefully we can get some fish because what will happen is when the first rains come and they trigger off the spawning sort of instincts in the fish, they'll head down to the source of the river and they'll spawn. And then, you know, a lot of the big fish they get this time of year are spawning females, so you need to put them back as quickly as possible, right? Right, let's cast this next to the bait. A lot of times too, when you've got a bait in the water and you cast out a soft plastic, you hook fish, okay? This is beautiful. And the good thing is too now, right, whatever we do, everyone, okay, so if we hook a fish and I reach down to let it go, it'll zoom in on what I'm doing, which is exactly what we want on the kayak, see? Right, and then it'll come up again. So, that was a raven, TVP. That was a raven, bud, just in that tree over there. Oh, we hear lots of, that was a frog. If you ever hear a frog in pain, you know that a snake's hit it, famo. Ooh, yeah. The reason why I came out today, I didn't expect to catch anything today, okay? But the main reason why I came out today is I wanted to test out the new motion tracking, right? And also I just wanted to figure out if there were any issues with it. But once we get on the yak, different story, okay? So, is that a knot? Don't tell me you knotted up, you bugger. Don't tell me you knotted up, did you or not? What am I seeing? Cuckoo. Thanks, TVP. Hey there, Aussie Inferno, how are you, bud? Girls got to have some secrets, bud. But yeah, so basically, mate, don't get sucked into buying a backpack Aussie Inferno because at the end of the day, it's just glorified webcam technology, bud. Right? That's all it is, mate. And that's all we were wrapped in before because they pump you with the advertising. They sponsor streamers and all the rest of the stuff. Oh, you need a backpack. You don't, okay? Okay, if anything, when I had the backpack in WA that Twitch sent me, it hampered my streaming because it was always cooking. We just have a really good moment, boom, with lots of signal, you know, right? And there's no technology in the world that allows for really hot weather, right? So, you know. Oh, really? Don't know, baptism by fire. I'll have a look, mate, but that'd be a good... See, this is why we have so many good people in the community, fam. Now I know about an app that'll identify a bird, so that way it can identify it in the stream. Brilliant. I will have a look at that, bud. What a lovely day, people. We don't realise how lucky we are, people, to live in Australia. Okay? So... But with all the development and the extra population, enjoy your fishing on the rivers now, because pretty soon everybody's going to want to have a house by the river, you know what I mean? So, is the audio okay, everyone? Oh, we'll have a look. Baptism by fire. Oh, that was a fish. We had a follow. Yes. There you go, people, see? We've got a bait in the water, and with the bait in the water, we're using a soft plastic, right? And we've had a hit. There it is. There's the little teeth marks there. Okay. Lizard, how are you, bud? Oh, Aussie Inferno, that's it, mate. And look, bud, you know, I mean, man, look... Yeah, Rockstar Gaming, or Rockstar Gaming, how are you, bud? Look, mate, yeah, everybody knows, you know, that we're not very well liked in the IRL community. We don't care, bud, right? We just want to continually improve the content for our community, mate, right? The ones that enjoy it, great. The ones that don't enjoy it, well, go and be legends somewhere else, man, you know? We don't care, right? And all this does, it's pretty easy to find the motion tracking technology, Aussie, but... what goes into it. So to give you the rundown, bud, right, the cables that I'm using are $80 each, okay, and I've got specialised recharging equipment and all the rest of it, okay, so, you know, it's not the the AI is the easy part, believe it or not, mate, but right, let's go again. That was a good fish too. Yeah, so Thursday morning, people, we're probably going to be starting up early, right? It's going to be a cold one and a wet one because we're going to head a couple of 100 kilometres down south, right? Nah, it's not the IRL community, mate. It's just, you know, other streamers, Aussie. But they're the, you know, look, mate, it's getting to the creepy stage, bud, right? Like really creepy. But that's all right, mate. We just turn the camera on, do what we do and don't care. Join the Discord and send me a message, Aussie, and I'll show you. You got to have a laugh, bud. You know? It's good to have a backbone and an opinion, Aussie, because then that way people know where you stand on things, mate. And you don't sort of change it like the direction of the wind, you know? Rightio. Okay, nice. Hang on, people, we just had a little bit of a bump. There we go. And right. Beautiful. So what we're doing here, we're using a 1/16 ounce jig head with a 3-inch soft plastic tail in a little paddle tail, right? The gear that we're using is a Shimano Zodias rod, okay? It's the 264L, which means it's the 2-piece 6'4" light. Perfect soft plastics rod, and we're using the 3000 Stratic, okay? The 4000 Stratic and the 7 foot 2-piece, right, is the sort of mulloway and small snapper rod that we use, right? But yeah, this is all purely and solely for the purpose of you know, using as soft plastics and the baits in the yak, people. All right. Oh, yeah, it's not so much that. Right. Put it this way, bud, and I'll just say this once. But while we're here, let's have a little bit of a laugh, shall we? Loey, how are you, bud? Good to see you. God's loyal. Pop into the chat, mate. Stop being such a sook and face up to your consequences, all right? Good boy. He loves it. Good to see so many people in here. Vinny Boston, what's going on, bud? FIFA King, how are you, bud? The handsome horse bolted a long time ago, mate. Now it's a donkey, okay? A little bit like the mullet. Now it's a stun mullet, you know what I mean? So. And the good thing about this is, people, you know, hands-free adds a whole new dimension to your streaming and content. The brimmer finally come in, and if you know where to fish, he caught a brim that was 4 centimetres off the state record, right? He let it go because we all fish, catch and release. So if my calculations are right, I've got a rough idea of where they should be. We should hopefully be there Thursday, okay? Oh, FIFA King, that's what it's about, bud. You know, like we just try and improve the content all the time. Wizards Knights, how are you, bud? Oh, mate, I just use basically 3-inch soft plastics, bud. So, and in early season like this, I usually use a lot of white or chartreuse soft plastics, so they're visible in the murky water, right? But people, the other thing is too, okay, we're going to have a really big freshwater season this year. Come on, phone. We're going to have a really big freshwater season this year. There's going to be a lot of freshwater content, okay? So when I was a fishing guide, I've got access to about 15 kilometres of private river frontage, which is good because the public don't get in there, right? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using that to try and catch some really big redfin perch early season, okay? So looking forward to it. And the other thing is too, I bought a trolley from Kings with nice wide tyres. I've modified it and bought a waterproof cover for it, and I've figured out how to run a Starlink from a trolley. So we'll be doing, that's so funny. Right, we'll be doing live streams from that as well. Yeah, no bass here, Wizard Knights. I'm on the western side of Australia. Mersky, how are you, bud? Oh, well, mate, usually when people go into fishing spots, bud, you know what it is. The latest thing is you buy a 4-wheel drive, you know, and you tear the bush up, leave your rubbish everywhere, for someone else to pick up and act like you own the place, mate, you know. When you've got private property, people don't do that, okay? And what happens is, yeah, no one goes there, so you've got more chance of catching fish. We've got some beautiful spots to go fishing to this year, people. You wait and see. Promise you, just stick around, okay? Alrighty? But freshwater fishing is what I cut my teeth on as an angler when I was younger, as well as estuary fishing. Then we started doing more beach fishing when I was older, right? And yeah, so, you know, then progressed the rock fishing. I've got some spots, people, with the rock fishing. When I get the trolley up over the big, like, sort of rocky points and that sort of stuff, yeah, it's going to be worth it. So it's all going to be good fun, people. Just trying to find time to do it's going to be the tough bit. But anyway, life goes on. Anyway, so there we go. That's right, Mersky. Hey, Mossy, what's going on? Where you been, stranger? Mossy, where you been? And thanks very much to everyone. I work for myself, TVP. So I work too much, mate. I do about, on average, I don't know, 100 hours a week. So, I mean, if you consider the live streaming as work, which I don't, because I use it mainly for, you know, like relaxation and mental health and that. But, I mean, yeah, it's enough, you know. So, I do quite a few different things, bud. And we open up the online store hopefully in July. Right, we're just going to start off slowly and then just build everything up as we go along, okay? So, right, we've got that southwesterly in early. That's good because it'll oxygenate the water. So people, if you can see out on the water here, right, I'll just get this in here, stop there for a second, thank you. If you see out here on the water, see the ripples that are starting to form, right? On the other side of the bank towards us, what's happened is the wind's changed from westerly to southwesterly, and now what it's doing is it's running, or sorry, not running, it's blowing across the top of the water. So what's happening is, with the wind blowing across the water and causing all the ripples and that sort of stuff, right? What that's doing is that's oxygenating the water. So if you're fishing on a really hot summer's day and then out of nowhere, you know, the wind starts blowing and you're at your spot, don't go anywhere, because what it's doing is it's going to help you out with your fishing, because the wind will oxygenate the water, and then what will happen from there is, right, they'll usually come onto the bite like that, okay? Especially if it happens late afternoon leading into a sunset and that, it just works in your favour. So, right, we've had one bite today. That's good. It's one bite more than I thought we were going to get. Oh, thanks, mate. You can't beat working for yourself, people, but you've got to give up lifestyle, you know? That's just one of those things. Rightio. Let's go back under this tree. Is that going to follow? Good. All right, so see this area in here, people? Right. I'll just, I'll zoom in there. Come on, bud. Thank you. Right, so what'll happen is, see in here, right, we haven't fished this for about 20, probably 30 minutes now. So there might be a fish that's swum into here. Alright, so we've just had a fish that's jumped over there, probably a little mullet, because mullet can tolerate different types of water. This is such a beautiful looking lure. Hopefully the fish think the same, you know. Now the other reason why I'll use white, okay, the reason why I use a lot of white soft plastics and lures in these sorts of tannin stone rivers is, and this is a constant through all parts of the world, right? So A lot of the fish and bait fish that you find in waterways are usually very similar to the colour of the waterway. So for example, right, this is a white soft plastic, okay? Depending on the depth that I fish it, it can be a yellowish tinge or can go to a brown tinge, you know what I mean? No, we don't have fluke here, TVP. We've got brim and mulloway, although sometimes I think they all died in last year's storm, you know. Sorry, last year's summer. Right. No TVP. This is just a standard 3-inch soft plastic tail, bud, with a little paddle tail on there. Susie Q, how are you, bud? How's life treating you? Are you well? Oh, come on. I have no idea what's mucking around with that bait, but I'm going to leave it. I might actually try and fish across the river, but that's going to be a bit of a headache because then it might limit my ability to use the soft plastics, so. Don't know, FIFA King, I've never eaten carp, mate, because carp are considered feral in Australia. A lot of places in Europe will eat carp, but they have really clean waterways with their glacial fed streams and all that sort of stuff, mate, you know. So, yeah, there's quite a poor stigma associated to carp over here. So, like I said, I've never eaten one, mate. But in Europe, like in Poland, they call carp krap. Right, and the tradition at Christmas is you take a fish over to cook, you know. So, oh, hello, what was that? And, yeah, so that's what happens there. Okay, well, what we're going to do, famo, right, is we've had not much luck with the bait, right? So, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to try and fish the other side of the river from here. Now, I don't know whether you can see this here. Let's line that up. Let's stop that. Great. So, across the river there, on the left-hand side here, you've got like some, it looks like bank shark that's dropped. But over the other side there, you can see like a paper bark that's leaning in the water, and there's one that's in here. What I want to do is I want to just try and get it to the right of that, but I don't know whether I'll be able to do it. Bad catfish, oh, okay. Just give me a second. All right, so we got a stick or a bait on there. Hey, see the little fish in front? All right. All right, so we've got structure down there, which is good. These are razor sharp, these hooks. Okay, now, yeah, hopefully baptism by fire. All right, people, so what I've done here is, as I explained before, right, so you've got the backbone of the fish, you've got the top and the bottom of the fish. I've gone in under the backbone with the top of the hook, wrapped it around the backbone and come out the top. So when I go to cast a long distance, the bait will flex and stay on the hook, right? So now what we'll do is, I've gotten the line wet. I've got to try and cast this with a round arm action because I've got too much overhanging foliage and that sort of stuff, right? So let's I'm just going to try and visualize the cast. Now see this wind that comes up? This is good. See how everything's rippling in front of us? Right? The fish will hopefully start waking up a bit now. Let's go through here. Right, so that's going to hit the car. So don't be afraid to rehearse your casts, people. Okay. And again. Oh, nowhere near it. Oh, you idiot. Oh dear. How am I going to get this out of here? Oh dear. Right. If you had seen where that cast went, there was no way in the world I thought I was getting that sinker and that rig back. Right, let's do that again, shall we? Oh dear. Okay. All right, so what I'll do is I'll show you the fresh way to bait the hook, okay? So what I've got here is, these are the muleys that we bagged on that YouTube video. Right, so what I want to do is, when you're casting long distances, tails are the easiest baits to do that with, purely because of their shape as well and the fact that they're a little bit lighter than the other parts, right? So what I'm going to do now is, where we are here, right. Okay. This will bring the fish to us. Oh, a bit close to the edge there. Rightio. Hey, Flying Penguin, how are you, stranger? What's going on? Okay, so see this bait here? Let's get this focused. All right, so there's the backbone there. That's the top of the bait, that's the bottom of the bait. So what I want to do is, I want to cast this so that the bait's facing this way when the sinker's flying through the air. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go underneath the backbone here, see through there. I'm going to turn my hook, then I'm going to bring it in above the backbone like that, okay? La la. So what's going to happen is there, I've got a beautifully concealed bait. And the other thing is too, I've got the hook going around the backbone so it won't fly off, okay? Now, the issue is going to be with the software when it gets wet, but anyway. Right, let's go again. Nowhere near it, but that's about as good as it's going to get, I think. Right. So what we'll do now is, I'm just going to chuck this in the grass, because if anything does hit that, the grass will stop it from going, okay? Is everybody enjoying the new technology, people? Are you happy with the motion tracking and the clarity of the stream and the audio? Revert, how are you, bud? Yeah, matey, it's not a cam. That's the thing though, bud, it's not a cam, mate. That's one thing I learned. I went and actually contacted a lot of people, like, you know, audio and visual engineers and that sort of stuff. And so, you know, basically I got some really good professional advice, and then I went and sourced all the information and sort of budgeted and planned everything, okay? DS Hawk, how are you, bud? Welcome to the stream, mate. What's going on? Excellent. So, right, let's see how this goes. And it just makes the overall, viewing experience better for the people in the community, you know. The other thing is too, it's like you've got your own just keep the stream nice and clean, and then just have minimal ads. And look, I'm really sorry about the startup ads. If I could stop the startup ads, I would as well, people, okay? It sort of gives you a new inspiration to really put into the streaming, you know? Yeah, thanks, mate. I've got a few things to sort out with angles and all that sort of stuff, but the funny thing is too, the balance of the equipment is, because you've got to use a software app to balance the equipment out. Oh, mate. And then because everything wants to link with Bluetooth, if it does that on the phone, it cuts the live stream out. So the tweaking on that was ridiculous, you know. Great. That's a good cast. Oh, what's that scum from? Has someone discharged something in the river? That's going to kill fish. That feels like oil, I think. Oh, where's that from, people? Can everybody see all the scum in the water here? Oh, and the other thing is too, people, there's about 5 different settings that I can work with here, but I'm just using this one for today, you know. So oh, that's my line, you idiot. Oh, don't tangle that. That's funny, that's bowing to the right. That means that we've got a low tide with water going out. If it was high tide and coming in, it'd be bowing to the left, so that caught me out there. Right. I don't think that's going to do anything there. We're going to have to cast again, I think. Dunno, Mersky. I don't know what that is, bud. Whatever it is, I don't think it's good for aquatic life, bud. You know, it's like someone's dropped some two-stroke in the water, or they've cleaned out a bilge or something, which a lot of the bloody, you know, richer people do because they don't want to pay for it to get taken away, you know. Hey, Insidium, how are you, bud? Thank you very, very much, mate, for resubbing, pal. How are you, mate? Right, let me just put this away for a second. We'll recast because I'm not close enough to that snag. We're not going to get anything like that. Oh, don't do that. Oh, Jim. Think about what you're doing, man. Okay. Rightio. So, I think I'm going to have to change the angle again here, people. Let's just... going to see if I can save the bait on here. on, bud. Did we save the bait or not? If the weather's too bad down south on Thursday, people will try and do a beach fishing stream, okay? Okay, so that's interesting. The bait tangled in the water. Wondered what was happening there. Let's have a look. Great. Tell you what, the clarity of the screen's ridiculous, isn't it? That's the thing, people. Like I said previously, I was just delving in webcam technology without even realising it. Right. So, if we come in here, like that. Great. Okay, so is that on the... I just got to check the angle for this shot, that's all. No. Right, let's try here. That should be better. Great, okay. All right, famo, so we're gonna go across the river. Now, I use a running sinker rig down to a swivel. Okay, the reason why I do that is irrespective of which way the water's flowing, right? As long as I cast my rig out and I grab the rig before it hits the water and the sinker hits first, whichever way the water's flowing, the bait will get carried by the momentum of the water and end up downstream, okay, if it's flowing downstream to the ocean, or upstream if it's flowing back upstream towards the high country, right? So